Englisch, Mittelstufe 8. Vergessen Sie nicht, das Video zu abonnieren.
Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video.
Zerren schwamm lange Zeit und wurde sehr müde.
Seren swam for a long time and became very tired.
Seren swam for a long time and became very tired.
Während sie zurück zum Ufer schwamm, verlor sie den Wunsch zu leben.
While she was swimming back toward the shore, she lost the desire to live.
While she was swimming back toward the shore, she lost the desire to live.
Sie hörte auf zu schwimmen.
She stopped swimming.
She stopped swimming.
Sie ertrank, als plötzlich der Frosch erschien und Zerren ans Ufer stieß.
She was drowning when the frog suddenly appeared and pushed Seren to the shore.
She was drowning when the frog suddenly appeared and pushed Seren to the shore.
Hat ihr Leben gerettet.
He saved her life.
He saved her life.
Warum hast du mein Leben gerettet, Frosch?
Why did you save my life, frog?
Why did you save my life, frog?
Weil sie sehr jung sind und viel zu leben haben.
Because you are very young and you have a lot to live for.
Because you are very young and you have a lot to live for.
Nein, sagte die Prinzessin.
No, I don't, said the princess.
No, I don't, said the princess.
Ich bin die elendste Person im ganzen Universum.
I am the most miserable person in the whole universe.
I am the most miserable person in the whole universe.
Reden wir darüber, sagte der Frosch.
Let's talk about it, said the frog.
Let's talk about it, said the frog.
Und sie fingen an zu reden.
And they began to talk.
And they began to talk.
Zerren und der Froschkönig saßen stundenlang zusammen.
Seren and the frog prince sat together for hours and hours.
Seren and the frog prince sat together for hours and hours.
Frag hörte zu und verstand.
Frog listened and understood.
Frog listened and understood.
Er erzählte ihr von sich selbst und seinem eigenen Unglück und seiner Einsamkeit. Sie teilten ihre Gedanken und Herzen.
He told her about himself and his own unhappiness and loneliness. They shared their minds and hearts.
He told her about himself and his own unhappiness and loneliness. They shared their minds and hearts.
Tag für Tag verbrachten sie Stunden miteinander.
Day after day, they spent hours with each other.
Day after day, they spent hours with each other.
Sie redeten, lachten, spielten und arbeiteten zusammen.
They talked, laughed, played and worked together.
They talked, laughed, played, and worked together.
Eines Tages, als sie in der Nähe des Sees saßen, bückte sich Zerren und küsste den Frosch mit großer Zuneigung auf seiner Stirn.
One day while they were sitting near the lake, Seren bent down and, with great affection, kissed the frog on his forehead.
One day while they were sitting near the lake, Siren bent down and, with great affection, kissed the frog on his forehead.
Puff! Plötzlich verwandelte sich der Frosch in einen Mann.
Poof! Suddenly the frog turned into a man.
Poof! Suddenly the frog turned into a man.
Nahm Zerren in die Arme und sagte, du hast mich mit deinem Kuss gerettet.
He took Seren in his arms, and said, you saved me with your kiss.
He took Siren in his arms, and said, you saved me with your kiss.
Draußen sah ich aus wie ein Frosch, aber sie sahen hinein und fanden, das war ich.
Outside, I looked like a frog, but you saw inside and found the real me.
Outside, I looked like a frog, but you saw inside and found the real me.
Jetzt bin ich frei.
Now I am free.
Now I am free.
Ein böser Zauberer hatte mich in einen Frosch verwandelt, bis ich die Liebe einer Frau gefunden hatte.
An evil wizard had turned me into a frog until I found the love of a woman.
An evil wizard had turned me into a frog until I found the love of a woman.
Zerren und der Prinz kehrten in den Palast zurück und heirateten.
Seren and the prince returned to the palace and got married.
Siren and the prince returned to the palace and got married.
Ihre beiden Schwestern waren sehr unglücklich.
Her two sisters were very unhappy.
Her two sisters were very unhappy.
Der gut aussehende Mann ignorierte seine Frau und sprach nicht mit ihr.
The handsome husband was ignoring his wife and wasn't talking to her.
The handsome husband was ignoring his wife and wasn't talking to her.
Der wohlhabende Ehemann machte sich über seine Frau lustig und gab ihr ständig Befehle.
The wealthy husband was making fun of his wife and giving her orders all the time.
The wealthy husband was making fun of his wife and giving her orders all the time.
Aber Zirren und ihr Froschkönig lebten seit jeher glücklich.
But Seren and her frog prince lived happily ever after.
But Siren and her frog prince lived happily ever after.
Während ich schlief, kletterte der Dieb durch das Fenster.
While I was sleeping, the thief climbed through the window.
While I was sleeping, the thief climbed through the window.
Als es zu regnen begann, stand ich unter einem Baum.
When it began to rain, I stood under a tree.
When it began to rain, I stood under a tree.
Während Ahmed mit der Krippe im Bett lag, schwamm sein Mitbewohner am Strand.
While Amit was lying in bed with the flu, his roommate was swimming at the beach.
While Ahmet was lying in bed with the flu, his roommate was swimming at the beach.
Als ich nach Hause kam, telefonierte Zeren mit ihrer Mutter.
When I came home, Seren was talking to her mother on the phone.
When I came home, Siren was talking to her mother on the phone.
Ahmed kaufte ein kleines Geschenk, bevor er gestern zu einem Freund ins Krankenhaus ging.
Amit bought a small gift before he went to the hospital to visit his friend yesterday.
Ahmet bought a small gift before he went to the hospital to visit his friend yesterday.
Gestern Nachmittag besuchte ich die Familie González.
Yesterday afternoon I went to visit the González family.
Yesterday afternoon I went to visit the Gonzalez family.
Als ich gegen 3 Uhr dort ankam, war Mrs. González auf dem Hof.
When I got there around 3 o'clock, Mrs. González was in the yard.
When I got there around 3 o'clock, Mrs. Gonzalez was in the yard.
Sie pflanzte Blumen in ihrem Garten.
She was planting flowers in her garden.
She was planting flowers in her garden.
Ma González war in der Garage. Er arbeitete an ihrem Auto.
Mr. Gonzalez was in the garage. He was working on their car.
Mr. Gonzalez was in the garage. He was working on their car.
Hat das Öl gewechselt.
He was changing the oil.
He was changing the oil.
Die Kinder waren im Vorgarten.
The children were in the front yard.
The children were in the front yard.
Während Mr. Gonzalez das Öl im Auto wechselte, spielten die Kinder mit einem Ball auf dem Hof.
In other words, while Mr. Gonzalez was changing the oil in the car, the children were playing with a ball in the yard.
In other words, while Mr. Gonzalez was changing the oil in the car, the children were playing with a ball in the yard.
Ich schlug meinen Daumen, während ich den Hammer benutzte.
I hit my thumb while I was using the hammer.
I hit my thumb while I was using the hammer.
Autsch. Das tut weh?
Ouch. That hurts.
Ouch. That hurts.
Sobald wir die Nachricht vom herannahenden Hurrikan hörten, begannen wir mit den Vorbereitungen für den Sturm.
As soon as we heard the news of the approaching hurricane, we began our preparations for the storm.
As soon as we heard the news of the approaching hurricane, we began our preparations for the storm.
Mr. Gonzalez arbeitete, bis müde wurde.
Mr. Gonzalez worked until he got tired.
Mr. Gonzalez worked until he got tired.
Dann blieb stehen und ruhte sich aus, bis sich stark genug fühlte, fortzufahren.
Then he stopped and rested until he felt strong enough to continue.
Then he stopped and rested until he felt strong enough to continue.
Als ich letzte Nacht im Bett lag, hörte ich ein seltsames Geräusch.
While I was lying in bed last night, I heard a strange noise.
While I was lying in bed last night, I heard a strange noise.
Als ich dieses seltsame Geräusch hörte, machte ich das Licht an.
When I heard this strange noise, I turned on the light.
When I heard this strange noise, I turned on the light.
Ich hielt den Atem an und hörte aufmerksam zu.
I held my breath and listened carefully.
I held my breath and listened carefully.
Eine Maus kaute an etwas unter dem Boden.
A mouse was chewing on something under the floor.
A mouse was chewing on something under the floor.
Ahmed lebte früher bei seinen Eltern. Jetzt wohnt er in seiner eigenen Wohnung.
Ahmed used to live with his parents. Now he lives in his own flat.
Ahmet used to live with his parents. Now he lives in his own flat.
Früher hatte ich Angst vor Katzen, aber jetzt mag ich Katzen.
I used to be afraid of cats, but now I like cats.
I used to be afraid of cats, but now I like cats.